Well, I think I was happy up to the age of about 9, very carefree, and I believed in magic, which influenced me a good bit. And then at 9, I was rather disillusioned. I stopped believing in elves and Santa Claus and all these little beneficent powers and became more realistic and depressed, I think. And then gradually became more adjusted about the age of 16 or 17. But I certainly didn't have a happy adolescence, and perhaps that's partly why I turned specially to writing. I wrote diaries, stories, and so forth, and was quite introverted.
So, I've been thinking about making this video, or I guess something like this, for a while, and I was conflicted as to whether or not I should script it or just treat it like all my chalk and draw videos or any videos where I have voiceover and I just, go straight from the dome and then slap whatever I recorded onto the footage that I've selected or whatever. But yeah, I think it's probably best for me to just go off the top of my head with this, because I don't know how else I can authentically convey this topic that I want to talk about without sounding, pretentious or disingenuous or losing the point of everything in a more convoluted way if I were to script it out. And I'm not a great writer either. When it comes to things like this, I can easily just harp on the negativity rather than having a more holistic standing back and really reflecting on stuff, which tends to happen more when I talk to myself. So here we are. Yeah, I don't know really where to start now. It's kind of don't want to start off completely negative, but maybe that's where it's best to start, where to really work from there. Oh man, this would be this hard. So why is it that I hate what I draw? I hate a lot of things about myself. Self-loathing, I think, has been a recurring issue for years now, honestly. It's something that I thought I've been getting better with, but I don't think I have. Well, I've improved, but I don't think it's been significant enough to where I can start making positive changes in my day-to-day life. But I'm not going to discount the small positive changes that I've done in my own personal growth. But yeah, how that translates into my art is I think it's something that's palpable in regards to my work ethic, at least what seems to be my work ethic, and what I end up committing myself to finishing. So a lot of the stuff that I would like to do, I know I want to play with color more, I know I want to do certain things more, but I've been more gravitated towards melancholy portraiture, and I haven't really shown any of that stuff. I've shared some, or most of the stuff I've drawn over the years online, but not everything, mainly because there's that, I saw a meme on Instagram once where you enter these points of frustration with your work when you have an ideal of where you'd like things to look like, and then where there's a skills deficit. And I think everyone can relate to that very practical period of frustration where you want to make something that looks like this, and you have a very like vivid, clear, coherent idea of what that thing should look like, but then when you try to really etch it out in your own way with your own isms, it doesn't necessarily manifest in the right way, and then you end up not liking what you've made despite being thoroughly invested in the creation of this idea and in the execution of that idea. Personally, I feel like I've reached a point last year where that deficit is like, it wasn't big, it was pretty like reasonable. Like everything I was coming up with, I was able to execute almost exactly how I thought about it in my head. And you'd think in that point I'd be very productive, I'd be putting out everything and every idea that I had, I'd immediately sketch out, put out on paper, and most of those ideas would then be fully rendered and shared and all that stuff. But then there's that element of self-loathing that rears its head in the production process or in the creation process, where I come up with it manifests in every stage of creating art for me, and I guess everything, where the idea comes from me, like maybe like I could be just sitting outside, or taking a walk, or like listening to music, and an idea kind of comes into my head, and I let it like marinate for a bit, and during that marination process, like it gets clearer and clearer, and the voice that says that I can't really do it gets louder and louder. I then try to execute it, and in the end, I either like am content with it. Like all the videos I've shared, I've been content with. A lot of the stuff I put out now are things that I am at least mostly content, if not happy with. But the last thing that I've put out, the idea is something I've had for like months. The execution, I think, was terrible, but I still like pushed myself to make it, because that's what everybody says, you know, like just push yourself to do something, and that's how you get over art blocks. You push yourself to do something. But there's certain recurring thoughts that I have about myself and the things that I do. And this is in every aspect of my life. It's just not unique to art, where I just don't like it, period. Like I just don't like it, and then I just don't do it. I don't engage in it. I've had several hobbies outside of just like drawing and anime and all of that, but I haven't been engaging with those things, and it's different. I don't know how many artists really talk about how they cope with depression. I haven't been formally diagnosed. I definitely did go to therapy, and they definitely said that I should probably continue sessions, but like didn't do that. I don't advise that. If you do have an opportunity to get help or whatever, get it. Talk to people. Don't let it get worse. But I let it get worse, and it's not, I don't know, because I think if I were to ever like explain these thoughts and these habits that I have now to myself like 4 years ago, I feel like myself then wouldn't necessarily like understand where I'm coming from, so maybe that might say more about my ability to explain what I'm trying to explain right now, rather than how much I'm different. But like, it's still a thought process and way of thinking that I've had for a while. It's just now that everything kind of isn't aligning. And so coming back to that skills deficit example that I brought up earlier, it manifests into that, where your idea of yourself or of how you were or how you should be, and then where you are, or at least where you think you are, that gap ends up widening, and then you kind of discourage yourself from even trying, because you don't really know, like, because you think you're at point E, and if you're at point E and you don't think that you have the skill sets to get to D, C, and B in order to make it an A, then it's a very nihilistic perspective of like, why bother? I don't think that, I know that that's not the way to approach it, but that's where I was, and it took me a while to figure out what kind of drawing to pair this audio with, but I still don't know the moment that I'm recording this, but I hope whatever it is kind of matches what I'm trying to convey, and because there are a lot of visceral visual images that pop up in my head, and I thought maybe I should just do a series where I kind of manifest those negativity into something productive, but that didn't necessarily pan out that way, because even though I thought at least I've made it to point D, I think I may still be at E, but I should be making an effort to try to get myself to D, where I thought I was. I don't know if this video will help anyone. This isn't necessarily to excuse the lack of stuff I post or whatever, but I think it's just like a way to kind of open up a bit more, because I think I had just the one video. There was no voiceover or whatever, it was just like through the songs, and that picture kind of encompass the essence of how I felt, where it was dramatic, kind of. Yeah, because I don't know, I do watch a lot of professional artists. A lot of them have very inspirational, upbeat aura, and when I watch the videos, a lot of, like, I can fully understand the draw to the content, you know, like, it's upbeat art, it's vibrant, the skills and techniques are there, and their personality is very welcoming, and you're happy to go there as an escape. And as much as I want to make content that's like that, it's just not where I am. And I guess I thought this would be a good opportunity to have a candid conversation about that. And I don't know who it will help to have that conversation, but I hope it at least does something for somebody, I guess, just to know, like, hey, you're not the problem, and keep trying, and if you really are in a precarious situation, like, emotionally, like, and you have the opportunity to get help, go get help, you know, like, don't think that, because honestly, I'm low-key a prideful person, like, low-key. I was a shitty kid, bro. I was such a dick as a kid, bro. And I guess that's something that carried over. So I thought, I could do this without help, but then that was so wrong. yeah, I guess this is where I'll end it. Or else I'll just end up rambling for even longer, but yeah.